Taking a look at UFC Sandhagen Vera. I've got 4 spots for your prize picks lineups this weekend that I really like. I'm going to go through them all with you, and these are all in order of confidence. So I'm actually going to go take these a little bit in depth and talk about some of these implied probabilities and how you can use some of these plays, not just for UFC, but also to pair up with tacos that pop up or random really good spots where you only have one spot, maybe you need another. Keep these in your back pocket. That's one of the great things about PrizePicks MMA. And the first spot we're taking a look at here is CJ Vergara, more than a 101.5 fantasy score. Now, let me go through a little bit of this fight with you here. So Vergara is a minus 240 favorite. Let's start there. So in order to score 101, he will absolutely need to win the fight. So he minus 240 is our effective implied probability. You know, we could probably, we can get an implied probability number here around 70.5%. So we need him to win. Now, taking a look at how PrizePicks scoring works for the fighters, they get 75 points for a second round win, 100 for, so in a first round win, it's locked in. You're good. If it's a second round win, 75 points, and there's probably enough ancillary scoring through 2 rounds to get you over 101. And even a third round win at 50 points, I think has a chance in a high action fight. And these are action fighters. That's not this fight, but these are action fighters. So high volume fighters, some takedowns, even a third round win should be enough to get us there. So that's our starting point. As long as to get to a 101, we need a fighter generally like this that's going to win in the first 2 rounds. Now, what's interesting about this fight, if we take a look at fight time for Vergara and this fight in general, it's set at 5 minutes, meaning that the expectation specifically for this fight is that it ends in the first round, or if it didn't end the first round, doesn't make it past the second round, which is all we need. Now, the reason I'm not taking Vergara, the fight under 5 minutes, is because if Vergara wins in under 5 minutes, he's locked into scoring over 101. And if the opponent wins, I'm accepting the L, right? I'm taking I effectively want to skew this as close to 70% in my favor as possible. We're not going to hit that here, but we'll get it to about 65%. The only way Vergara, I think, wins this fight but doesn't score 101 is if he wins by decision, which is plus 725, which for an implied probability of about 12%. So that's a super low probability outcome, and I'm willing to roll the dice there. And as far as just taking a look at this leg of our parlay, I give it about a 65% if we reduce that 70 by the 12%. So we get about a 65%er, which is really good. This is what I'd consider to be a tier 1.5 or tier 2 type of play. And we can actually use this and pair it with other spots throughout the week. We need Vergara to win. I think he will win. We need him to win in the first 2 rounds. I think that's going to happen. So over 101 fantasy score for Vergara. Second spot I really like is Tucker Lutz. And the reason here is actually pretty similar. Daniel Pineda, his opponent, he's had like 40 fights in his career. He's never had a fight go to decision. Never, right? Let me pull him up here. Pineda, where is he? Every fight ends inside the disc, and this goes back a long way. I don't know what happened here, right, in 2011, but who cares? Other losses. Every fight, finish. There's a decision. Losses, decisions on occasion, but his wins have all come inside the distance every single time. So let's start there. Super high likelihood of the fight not going the distance. That's part 1. So as long as we're not going the distance, now we're looking at the total fantasy score, 96.5, and already we went over this. We need a first or second round finish to sort of lock it in. We need a finish to be comfortable. So let's take a look at the odds on that fight. Tucker Lutz is minus 280 to win the fight. So under 2.5 rounds, minus 185. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 255. This is less good in terms of the inside the distance prop compared to the previous fight. which is why I have this is going to be a lower confidence play than the first one. Like Vergara is supposed to win first round. His opponent has been wiped out in the first. This fight, these two fighters tend to finish inside the distance, but we're dealing with a minus 255 probability, and we need it to end inside the distance. So it's a little less good. So let's take a look at what else could help get us there on the fantasy points for Lutz. So the nice thing about Lutz here is he does go for takedowns and his opponent goes for takedowns, right? On PrizePicks, again, the scoring works in such a way that you get 3 points for stopping a takedown. You get 6 points for achieving a takedown. So Pineda, who does go for takedowns, could lead to some takedown defended here for Lutz as well along the way. That adds points. Lutz does go for takedowns. He attempts it, and his opponent is not very good at stopping them. So the longer the fight goes on, you'd expect Lutz to get a couple takedowns, 6 points, 6 points. I still think if this fight goes to decision, it might be a difficult task to get past the number here. So we probably need this to be Lutz, but I do think he can do it in a third round win. So we got all rounds 1, 2, and 3. Minus 65 doesn't go to 265 doesn't go to decision. That puts us, let's put it here, minus 265. That's about 70+% chance it does go to decision. Got about a 70+% chance for 75% chance for Lutz to win. I'll take those numbers. It's a little bit less good than the first play, but Tucker Lutz more than 96.5 fantasy points. I'm pairing these two up. That's my big play for the card. So let me just remember, I'm going to forget what the other ones were, but I'll show you afterwards. This is going to be where we're going to put in a big play. But I still want to get to a 5 flex or as close to it as we can. So I'm going to talk about some other spots, and these are diminishing in terms of how good the play is. So keep it in mind. We're trying to really nail those core plays. And then, hey, we're trying to get them all right, but not always get them all right. What we're also, and a big key thing here, everything we do with PrizePicks, everything I do with PrizePicks, everything you do, should always be thinking about, are these numbers that I'm getting worth doing on PrizePicks? In other words, am I getting a better number than I get on the sports book? And I could show you, for example, in Fight Time, the way PrizePicks has pretty much every single fight lined up this week is exactly what the prop is on the sports books for those things to happen. So it wouldn't make sense to use Fight Time for any fighter because I can just bet this on a sports book and get better numbers or get a better return for my bet. The same risk, greater return. You need minus 135, minus 140 or better, probably minus 130, let's call it, or better to make it worth going here rather than the sports book. So with that being said, the next fighter in my lineup here, Corey Sandhagen, over 107.5 significant strikes. Sandhagen is in the main event taking on Marlon Chito Vera. Sandhagen is a high action fighter as well. He lands almost 7 strikes per minute. Let's crack open Sandhagen right here. He does go for some takedowns. Over 6.15 strikes landed per minute. When you multiply that out over the course of 5 rounds, it's 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So 120 is round 4. So effectively, we need 4 rounds of Sandhagen striking at his normal volume, win or loss, to hit the over on strikes. Now, take note here, this is the fighter's stats. Neither one of these guys is going for a ton of takedowns generally, which is what we want. We don't want to spend a lot of time wrestling. Chito Vera is not going to grapple at all. He's not going to wrap up with you. He's going to stand and he's going to strike, right? Sandhagen, he's a striker and a volume striker. He's going to stand there. He's going to throw strikes the whole time. So effectively, the reason I like this prop, where am I? The reason I like this prop is because 107, he can get there and still lose the fight. 2 weeks ago on this breakdown, I told you Peter Yan because of how Merab Dvalishvili fought, and because of how Peter Yan is, takedown defense, and Merab, a crazy takedown maniac, I said this is a lock because even if Merab even if Yan loses, he might score the fantasy points based on takedowns defended, which is what ended up happening. Peter Yan lost, but he smashed his fantasy score because of all the takedowns defended. Well, in this case, we don't want takedown. We want them standing. And the only thing that's really going to derail Corey Sanders is he can lose. So that's not going to derail us as long as he lose. This fight just needs to pretty much either go to decision or last till the fifth round. So let's take a look at the odds of those things happening, because that's really, in effect, the only thing we need to care about. He does not need to win to land that many strikes. We just need the fight to last, to start the fourth round. And if you take a look here, over 4.5 rounds, minus 160. And that's 4.5. We only really need it to start round 4, which we're getting minus 215 odds. Fight starts round 4. And that's probably all we need. I mean, I'd like it to go 4.5. I'd like it to go the full 5 just to be comfortable. But starting round 4 should be enough. So are we effectively skewed to minus 215? Yeah, pretty much. So technically, I'm going to elevate this play. You know what? Now that I looked it over, I'm actually going to elevate this one to part of the core 3. So we're going to call that a core 3, because I really like it now that I looked at it, because we effectively have minus 200 plus odds. By the way, it's really important to note, a lot of people don't watch the MMA videos. Like, I only do basketball, or I only do other things. This is the sport where you get these plays, and it allows me to, like, I doubled my bankroll last week. I made a video about it because of MMA, because I took it and I paired it with all the different NBA plays that were popping up throughout the week. And I took these cores, and now we have 3 cores that you can keep in your pocket here. I really like all 3. I think Vergara is the best of them, but I would mix them up because these are all in the range of 65-ish% implied probability. So they're not quite like the Joanne Wood play from last week, which I've had over 80% confidence in. There's about a 65%, which is good enough to pair constantly with any plays that you do on PrizePicks, especially two-play power plays, and any one of them. So Corey Sandhagen, more than 107 significant strikes. Boom. All right. Last play on the card here, because I like to have a fourth. Nate Landwehr, over 68.5 significant strikes. And I'm just going to show you the stats on this one. I like this one a lot as well. I mean, he's a bit of a wild man. And part of the concern I have with Landwehr is I've seen him wobbled before, and it's always scary when he's fighting. It's just always scary. So just keep it in mind. But he is a minus 210 to win the fight. But yeah, under 2.5 rounds, minus 130. So this one's a little more, ends inside the distance, minus 170. It's a little dangerous. Now, the strike numbers here are only 16 a hit. They're lower than what we saw for Sandhagen. And it is noteworthy that, yeah, let me go back to Landwehr here. But he is a high-volume striker. So you would think, yeah, 6.37 strikes per minute. So this is a situation where at his usual pace, he needs it to go into the 3rd round. I mean, it could be a surprise and he lands that 70 strikes that could happen within 2 rounds, but it's not going to happen like halfway through the 2nd. We're going to have to get really through that 2nd. We're going to have at least start the 3rd. And I think we might need to finish the 3rd, which makes it tricky. Let's take a look here at fight to start the 3rd round. Yeah, minus is 50-50 at that point. This is not a confident one, to be clear. I don't even want to play it. I'm pulling it. Because at that point, I'm pulling it. You know what? I don't normally play a 3-play. Just for the purpose of the video, I will. But it's not worth it for me to play a spot that is effectively 50-50 odds. And that's what we're getting here. Fight starts round 3, minus 113. Yeah, it's not good enough. Fight start. This is what we need. We need it into round 3, and it's 50-50. Not good enough. We don't want to play like that. Not on a card like this. So we'll figure out other things to pair with it. But I really love this 3-play anyway. So let's stick with that this week. Let's have another smash week of MMA. Remember to mix these up. You could play them. You could play them. Previous players. Put a Hanbi on it. And yeah, I did Vergara, Sandhagen, and let's. There we go. So keep those in your pocket, play them. Things pop up over the course of the week. You can use them more than once. And every time you do it, it's just the way I'm going to do it. Not you. You do whatever you want. What I'm going to do, I'll spread out my exposure, but I'll switch between Lutz, Vergara, and Sandhagen. Let's hope we have another really good week with this stuff. I'm trying to put these together in a way that gives us the least downside and the maximum upside. So good luck, everyone. Let's crush it.